Story time on how I beat up my grandma. Yes, my grandma, you heard right. Let's get into it. Okay, so boom. I'm a 16-year-old high school student who finds myself at my grandma's house almost every day. My mom's a single mother and works 2 jobs, and instead of leaving me home alone, she always drops me off at my grandma's house. And this has been our routine ever since I was 5 years old. My mom just felt more comfortable leaving me at my grandma's house. But what my mom didn't know is that I'd rather stay home alone rather than going to my grandma's house. My grandma has been beating me up ever since I was 5 years old. She didn't beat me up for any valid reasons. She would just be mad at me for the smallest things. Like one time I broke her glass chandelier while I was playing with my ball and she hit me. Another time I broke her 50-inch TV by accident and again she hit me. Y'all wouldn't believe this third reason why she beat me up. Like for part 2. Part 2 on how I beat up my 76-year-old grandma. Okay, so boom, like I said, my grandma would always beat me up for the smallest things. None of her reasons were valid. She beat me up once for breaking her glass chandelier while I was playing ball. Another time I broke her 50-inch TV screen on accident and she beat me up again. She even would tell me to wash the dishes, and when I would tell her no, because I don't live here, I shouldn't be washing anything, she would once again beat me up for being quote-unquote disrespectful. All this hitting throughout the years and I was just over it, and my mom always siding with my grandma. Well, I'm 16 now and I was over it. My 76-year-old grandma should have learned to keep her hands to herself. So this particular night she told me to study, but I didn't want to study. I wanted to watch TV, so I told her no straight up. And things escalated. Like for part 3. Part 3 on how I beat up my 76-year-old grandma. Okay, so boom, like I said, my grandma told me to go study and I told her no, I wanted to watch TV. She said she was sick of my slick mouth and made her way over to hit me. But this time, oh no, I wasn't going for it. I pushed her away from me, then I punched her on her arms and her face. She fell down and started screaming in shock that I even hit her. Once my mom came home, my grandma told my mom what happened and my mom beat the living soul out of me. And my mom told me if I ever raised my hands to my grandma again, she was going to do more than just hit me with a belt. Truth is, my grandma never hit me unless I was rude or broke something, and that happened very often. Come to find out, I actually suffered from aggressive behavior in children and needed to get treated. Thank God I got treated and I'm better now. And me and grandma has a great relationship now. Don't beat up your grandma.
And asked to get on a call. I said politely that I couldn't get back online because I was to dinner with my wife. We were celebrating the new job. She scheduled a 7:30 a.m. call to chat. During the call, she said she felt betrayed because I didn't tell her that I applied. I responded that I had informed her via email weeks ago. She said that she couldn't find it, so I forwarded her the email. She immediately went silent and asked what it would take to keep me. I told her the new job's promotion was the main reason I applied. She offered to promote me. I began to question how this was possible since I wasn't eligible during my performance review 3 months earlier. She deflected and said that these are very different circumstances. I thanked her for the offer but declined. I've been with the new team for some months and enjoy the new role now. The old team is struggling to complete some of my tasks, so they still reach out to me and I assist with guidance at my pace, so I take time responding. Never found out what the different circumstances were that allowed a promotion when I was prepared to leave, but not when I earned one during a performance evaluation. My boss said she couldn't promote me because I had only been with the company for 1 year, so I changed departments. During a previous performance evaluation, I received high marks on all areas. My then boss told me that I couldn't be promoted because I had only been with the company for 1 year. It wasn't true, I had been with them for over 18 months, but I just let it go. I found out later that another department that does similar work to what our team does promoted people on their team that had been with the company for less than 1 year. Naturally, I was irritated and asked my boss. She said it wasn't up to her. That team had an opening and I applied. Our company requires us to notify our current manager before we can start the interview process. I sent my boss an email letting her know and CC the hiring manager. I go through the interviews and get the job. It came with a promotion and a nice pay raise. This week I get my offer letter. I get a text from my boss at the time and asked to get on a call. I said politely that I couldn't get back online because I was to dinner with my wife. We were celebrating the new job. She scheduled a 7:30 a.m. call to chat. During the call, she During the call, she said she felt betrayed because I didn't tell her that I applied. I responded that I had informed her via email weeks ago. She said that she couldn't find it, so I forwarded her the email. She immediately went silent and asked what it would take to keep me. I told her the new job's promotion was the main reason I applied. She offered to promote me. I began to question how this was possible since I wasn't eligible during my performance review 3 months earlier. She deflected and said that these are very different circumstances. I thanked her for the offer but declined. I've been with a new team for some months and enjoy the new role now. The old team is struggling to complete some of my tasks, so they still reach out to me, and I assist with guidance at my pace, so I take time responding. Never found out what the different circumstances were that allowed a promotion when I was prepared to leave, but not when I earned one during a performance evaluation. Was I...
Today's story time, in my opinion, is a pretty crazy one. I'm going to start this off by saying, don't go to school and fight. I'm going to get the moral of the story out of the way first. Moral of the story is, don't be like this girl that I'm about to talk about in this story time. Definitely not a good idea. But yeah, today's story time topic is high school and a fight that I witnessed that was not like any other fight. It was an insane one. And specifically, it involved two girls, but not just two ordinary girls, a girl and a teacher. Yeah, let's just jump into this. So this story time takes place in 9th grade. Yeah, 9th grade. It all starts off as a normal morning. I'm sitting in class, first period, just doing my work. And you know, like any other school day, I was tired as hell in the morning, just very low energy, wanting the day to go by faster. And on this day, we had a substitute teacher, okay? And she was a girl. But the thing about this substitute teacher is I could tell immediately that she took no shit. Like a lot of the time when a class gets a substitute teacher, they kind of just like dick around in class and not take it seriously because they think that they can't get in trouble. This lady was a different type of substitute. Like I could just tell she took no bullshit. Like if anyone messed around with her, she would not hesitate to throw their ass in detention. He goes, "What'd you just say to me?" And Victoria goes, "I don't care that I'm late. Now get the fuck out of my face." And the substitute goes, "What'd you just say?" And she goes, "You heard me. I'm not repeating myself." And the substitute was not having it. She literally pulls a chair up right next to her, sits down, and looks her right in the eyes, probably like an inch away, face to face, and goes, "How about I give you detention? Then we can spend some more time together eating lunch." And Victoria goes, "Well, if you give me detention, I'm not fucking going." And the teacher goes, "Yeah, you are." And they just start getting up in each other's faces and like yelling at each other. And then Victoria says, "Listen, you got 2 seconds to take 2 steps back, and if you don't, I'm swinging on you." And I'm thinking to myself, like, yo, is this really happening? Like, are they about to fight? This can't be happening. Like, no, like, this cannot happen. Like, it's 7 in the morning. It's way too early to be throwing hands at this hour. Like, way too early. Especially for teachers. Like, let the poor lady have her coffee first before you start throwing hands. Come on. I'm just kidding. Not a good idea to throw hands with a teacher ever. Anyway, teacher doesn't back up. She gets closer to the point where they're literally touching faces. And Victoria just straight swings on her and hits her in the face. I just kept my mouth shut because I was kind of on thin ice at this point. It was my first year of high school and I got into a little bit too much trouble than I would have liked to that year. So yeah, I wasn't trying to get in any more trouble because if I did, I might get moved to another school. So yeah, I was just trying to be good that class and, you know, not get in any trouble. And then this one girl walks in late to class. She was 20 minutes late. She walks in. Let's just call this girl Victoria, okay? Victoria had an attitude on her every single day, whether it was a substitute or a regular teacher. She was always mad mean to them. She was kind of mean to everybody. I remember one time I tried to borrow a pencil from her and I was like, "Hey, can I borrow a pencil?" And she turns around, gives me an absolute death stare, and then just laughs in my face and turns back around. Like, what kind of evil shit is that? It's like she's a Marvel supervillain. So anyway, she comes into class really late and the substitute goes, "Who are you?" She goes, "My name's Victoria." She goes, "Well, you're late, Victoria." And Victoria goes, "I don't care." And Victoria just sits down at her desk and pulls out a bagel from her backpack wrapped in foil and starts eating it. And I'm thinking to myself, like, where the hell did she just get a bagel from? Like, she really just spawned a bagel. Anyway, the substitute teacher, and in my head, I'm like, yo, this cannot be happening right now. And everybody jumps up out of their chairs and runs up to the front of the room to watch what's happening. And yeah, a full-blown fight breaks out between Victoria and our substitute teacher. And I'm just in shock. I'm like, this is not okay at all. And immediately, as soon as the fight breaks out, everyone starts making a bunch of noise and like screaming and yelling. And one of the security guards in the hallway heard this. And we had our door open so he could see in the classroom. So he runs in immediately and starts breaking up the fight. But the problem was, is there was one security guard and 2 girls fighting. So it took him a lot of force to break them up. It took him probably a good 30 seconds to get them separated. So that entire time, they were basically fighting like with him in between them. It was just the most like insane situation. So anyway, the security guard breaks them up, but it doesn't end there. The whole time they're broken up, they're cussing and screaming at each other from across the room. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, yo, how is this happening right now at 7 o'clock in the morning? Like, how are these people not tired? Like, if someone tried to walk up on me at 7 in the morning and try to start a fight, I'd be like, hey man, like, can we get a rain check on this? Can we do this later today? I'm really tired. But nah, for real, it was way too early to be fighting. So anyway, they get broken up, they're screaming at each other, they're cussing at each other, and one of the principals walks in, the vice principal, and she's like, what's going on? And I'm like, there was a fight. And she goes, with who? Like it wasn't obvious. Both my substitute teacher and Victoria had the most messed up hair ever. But I point to both of them, and I'm like, yeah, it was Victoria and the substitute. And my vice principal goes, the substitute fought? I was like, yep, she did. And she goes, really? I was like, yep, I'm just as shocked as you are. And she goes, okay, well, get back to work. I sit back down, I go back to doing my work, just, minding my own business, being unproblematic. And the vice principal brings the substitute teacher and Victoria up to her office so they can go talk about what just happened. And she leaves us with the security guard in the room just to monitor the class for the rest of class. And yeah, since he wasn't a teacher, he's like, yeah, just stay quiet, go on your phones or something, listen to music. Like, you only have a little bit of class left, so, just relax for the rest of it. And yeah, so everything after that was a pretty normal day, but I find out the next day that Victoria got 2 weeks of suspension and the substitute could never work at our school again. I don't know if she wasn't allowed to work at other schools as well, but full story on my YouTube channel, link in